really big step for the two Carolinas, being able to showcase the incredible amount of art that's being created here in these two states. You know, sometimes people feel like they have to go afar to buy art, and what we're trying to get people to understand is you don't have to do that. It's here in your backyard, and your backyard can be Raleigh, it can be any town in North Carolina or South Carolina. And if you'll look at these two maps back here on the wall, we kind of put them to the side because we have so much art being shown right now. But it's very important for people who come in to see that this art comes from every part of the two states. So each one of these red dots that you see on the maps, that represents a town or a city where one piece of art came from, or maybe 100 pieces of art came from. You'll find that, I think if you look at where all the art came from when we published that, you'll see that there's a heavy concentration, obviously, in Charlotte, the largest city in the two states, so you normally expect that. But the cool thing about this is, look at where those red dots are. Look all the way over to the east coast of North Carolina, and look all the way down to Hilton Head, Charleston, Mount Pleasant, all those areas down there, and all those little towns scattered throughout the two states. I was born in South Carolina, and I'm very proud of the work that I see coming from my home state. This is now my home state, and I'm proud of the work that's being created here. The other thing I'd like to say is, I have watched artists in this area grow, and there's some of you are here today, and the way that your work has evolved from when I first met you maybe 5 or 10 years ago, looking at your work today, it's really encouraging to see that people do strive for excellence here, and it's coming through in their art. So I congratulate you for that. For those who are in the show, I said last night, congratulations. Everyone in this show is a winner. If you got a ribbon or a cash prize or whatever, or not, you are a winner. If you entered the show, you're supporting, and didn't get in the show, you're supporting what we're doing here. So, you know, sometimes people get frustrated because they don't get in a juried art show, but it is a juried art show, which means, it doesn't mean that your work is not good. It just means that we have an art critic, someone who's very knowledgeable, selecting the show. And sometimes personal taste comes through, but at the same time, what I think we've demonstrated here is the quality of every piece in this show is very high. Some a little bit more than others, but if someone comes in and knows nothing about artwork and they want to own a piece of art, they feel comfortable that they can walk away with a high quality piece of art, and at prices which are sometimes ridiculously low. If you know what I'm saying. But anyway, I thank you guys for everything that you do, your support. And again, Michael Orrell, who is responsible for this type of thing, so that we're going to share this important message that's going to be delivered today from our juror. We want people to learn. That's part of our goal here, is to increase the awareness of good art. And so we're very fortunate today that we have Eliza Rathbone, who is our juror this year. She has been a true joy to work with. Sometimes jurors can be a little prickly. I mean, I'm a juror sometimes for a show, and I can be prickly, I know that. But my God, she's been phenomenal to work with. And the joy that she brings to the art world is amazing. And I think I'm going to start out today. I had lunch with her yesterday, and it was a wonderful opportunity for me to sit behind my desk for an hour and just hear her talk about the art world, her position in the art world. She was with the Phillips Collection for a number of years. And so I learned a lot about the Phillips Collection. Some people say that's my favorite museum in the world. A number of people said that to me this weekend. So as Michael said, we're going to open it up for questions in a moment, but I thought we'd start out and ask Eliza if she would just tell us a little bit about yourself, your family history, and about your history at the Phillips Collection and what the Phillips Collection actually, it's all about where it came from and where it is today. Okay?
Yes.
Thanks.
Thank you, Larry. So, I guess this sounds good, Michael?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I guess, actually, even before I start, I should thank Larry for the wonderful experience of getting this amazing insight into all the work being produced in North and South Carolina. And I know I should be thanking him on behalf of all of you and all the artists out there, because he does a great thing for you, bringing your work out to be seen, as it so well deserves to be. About myself, I grew up with art all around, because my father was a museum director, first in St. Louis and then in Boston. So I think I knew early on that I would study art history, and that I loved art. I loved artists. I loved people, all kinds of people who deal with in the world of art. They're just some of the most interesting people you ever get to meet. So then, after I studied at college and graduate school art history, I went to Washington, not sure exactly, Washington, D.C., not sure exactly what I would find there, but wanting to do some research, and I ended up getting a job at the National Gallery, where I spent 8 years in the 20th century department as assistant curator. That was a thrilling job. And then when there was an opportunity to go to the Phillips collection, a place that has a very different profile from the National Gallery. It's just about as opposite as you can get to the museums in Washington, which are institutions, and Phillips, if anything, was kind of anti-institutional and predates a lot of the museums in Washington, of course, because the Phillips collection opened in 1921. And Phillips had the freedom to exercise his own taste and judgment. It wasn't a collection accumulated over years by different points of view, different curators, different directors. It was his, it was what he was learning all the time and wanting to share. And I was saying to Larry, I think what's so special about Duncan Phillips, there are many things, but one was that he do you want me to go on?
Yes,
Okay. As a young man, he was born into a well-to-do family. He was born in Pittsburgh. His mother was heir to the Jones and Laughlin steel fortune, not quite as big as Mellon or Frick, but considerable. And his parents moved to Washington in the 1890s, built the house on the corner of 21st and Q, and he and his brother began to collect art. And although their parents had not been collectors, they traveled, they went to Japan, they went to Europe, their eyes were open to lots of foreign cultures and beauty. And so they began buying paintings, and their parents gave them an allowance to do this. And they found it quite an adventure. And it was very nice to have them an allowance to buy paintings. And then in the epidemic Spanish influenza in 1918, Duncan's brother Jim died. Because a lot of, it wasn't just something that, decimated the infants or old people. It actually, a lot of people died. And also around the same time, close in time, he lost his father. So that left Duncan and his mother in their house, a substantial house, in the heart of Washington, and he decided that for him, he was devastated, of course, to lose his brother, his only sibling, and he decided that in times of sorrow and loss, what restored his spirit most was art. And so he decided to establish, with his mother's blessing, the Phillips Memorial Art Gallery. And he opened it with 200 works in his collection almost right away. It was founded in 1918 and 1921, having added to their house this gallery that some of you I know have been and seen, designed by McKimby and White. He would open the doors and share it with the public. And that's just not so common. A lot of collectors will acquire things that they love for themselves and then say, and when I die, you know, everyone can come and see. Well, that didn't interest him at all. He wanted to share it right away. He loved sharing what interested him, and was always interested in acquiring for the museum works that were recent. His wife was a painter, Marjorie Phillips, and so he was very sensitive to, but he tried painting himself, but he was very sensitive to what it was to be an artist, and he loved talking to artists. Some people, some collectors would rather just, you know, talk to the dealer. You know, please don't make me go to a studio. But Phillips loved to get into the studio and talk to them about what they were doing, and he did that all his life. And what was amazing was while at first he didn't understand the contemporary art, new art of his time, some aspects, he learned more from talking to artists than from anybody else. Of course, he read critics, Clive Bell and Roger Fry, all those ones from the early 20th century, but artists really taught him how to look at art. And he never stopped wanting to see what was new. So the other thing that's rather special about the Phillips collection is that over a period of about 50 years, he continued to look at what was new, favoring American art, but also acquiring a lot of French painting, great pieces by Renoir, Cezanne, Monet, Matisse, you know, and so on. Bonnard was one of his passions. But mostly, and then of course other Europeans as well, and also from art from the 19th century, as well as from his own time, because he thought all art comes from somewhere. All artists learn from other artists. And because he was presenting the art increasingly and eventually completely in the entire house, he gave his whole house over to the collection, that gave, I think it gave him a sense of freedom to not be, as I said, he was very anti-institutional in his approach, to hang the collection in any way that he wanted to. And he thought artists learn from other artists across time and space. They don't observe any boundaries. I don't have to put all my French paintings in one gallery and my Americans in another, or sculpture here and paintings there. I can mix things up in any way that I see a rapport that exists between the artists. And so that's what makes the Phillips a really exciting, stimulating place, I think, to look at art. His whole idea was to inspire people to look and see things in a fresh way. So it's a great legacy for any curator. It's a wonderful gift because his whole idea is not that I've created an installation of my collection and it must be like that forever, or nothing. It was fixed in his lifetime, and he somehow trusted future generations to add to the collection, move things around, do new installations, do new exhibitions, and keep it lively. And so I was very fortunate to be there for almost 30 years.
If you will, tell us a little bit about what your role was there, why so?
Oh, well, so I was chief curator, when I first went there, I was very excited to be able to work with living artists, and the first exhibition I did was with Susan Rothenberg, and that was really a lot of fun. So I thought, how exciting. the National Gallery.